claims everything is being expected to be straight. It's like seeing John Wayne.
It's called James. I host this news every morning.
And the Golden Angel Award ceremony.
Hello, my dear friends, my lovely audiences. Welcome to East West Show. Jack Chow, your host, with my good friend, Mr. Chris Nebe of Hollywood. He is a Hollywood filmmaker, being a producer, being a director, being a screenwriter, and he is, well, the kind of filmmakers himself. He does it all, with a reputation of 25 good films. One of which I like so much, the Unit 731, which tells the story that people seldom know about the chemical warfare raised by the Japanese invaders to China. And another one I like so much was that his Flying Tiger / Burma Road, talking about during the Japanese war, how the Americans were helping us, were aiding us with the firefighters fighting namelessly against the Japanese, and also engaged in the road construction, including airport construction. Thank you for having done what you did. All right, my good friend, welcome back to the subject. Subject today is a continuation of what we talked about exactly following, before this this show, talking about being politically right, talking about all this mess putting together. We came to a point that we need to find out why we see what we see.
Why? Because the system is broken. And all of a sudden, you know, the virus and the murder of the George Floyd ignited this flame, and at the same time, the action which resulted out of this, some of them right, many of them wrong, do empower the corporate deep state who will tighten their control over we the people now. Because we the people who are out there on the street, many of them mean well, but they have no idea really. They follow a feeling, but there is no leadership. There is no constructive thing. And you see, this system has been going on. It's very difficult to change a system because it's too complex.
Exactly.
It's easy said than done.
Exactly.
Therefore, you see all these little window dressing things. A little bit here, a little bit there. And
as a matter of fact, there's nothing wrong with window dressing, right?
no, but you see, it's not enough. And it doesn't go to the core.
Mm-hmm.
The core is very simple. Economy. In the show before, we talked about money. There is no longer a fair distribution of wealth.
But before we go to the area of economy, though,
Yeah.
I still want to hang in the area of why we named the show "A Nation in Rage and Fear."
Yeah.
Right. Of course, when you see the title of the show today, "A Nation in Rage and Fear," you may kind of caught by surprise. Why we say so? Because right now we do see a lot of rages. We do see a lot of fear. Speaking of fear, I'll give you an example. Exactly last week on a Friday, I believe on a Friday or on a Thursday, there in the city of South Carolina, city of Charleston, right? They toppled down two monuments with statues standing on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It was a result of days of protest, because the protesters requested the statues, the monument with statues sitting on, to be toppled. Right? Then, you know what happened? Right? Forced by the protesters, forced by the demonstrations, the city council, 13 of them, had an emergency resolution they voted on. They voted yes to the toppling, to the removal of the monument with the statues on. The whole story, if I stop here, it means nothing. A resolution, they may vote yes, they may vote no, they may vote whatsoever. Just go follow the resolution for their own city. It's their own city, it's their own individual right that the federal can do nothing. California can do nothing about. As a show host, I can do nothing about. What does surprise me, my dear friend Chris, is that you know the result, you know how the vote, the actual vote, is a 13 against a 0. Does that indicate you, the council at fear,
Yes.
made a resolution? Okay. Hey, God, go your way, go your way, go your way, go your way. All
I
right?
want to be politically correct.
They want to be politically right. That is the part, my dear friend, even though California has nothing to do, even though our show host, Jack Shao, has nothing to do, or the federal has nothing to do either, I want to throw a little comment there that the result of 13 versus a 0 speaks, my friend. Do you think that's a good example of fear?
Very good example, and it shows you what's wrong, and that's why it is so difficult to cure, and that's why I said before it's incurable, a broken system, because the system has been done. For example, the First Amendment is a steam valve. You know, it allows people, it allows we the people to speak their mind, air their grievances, and is a contribution to a larger dialogue that hopefully results in a more just world. And so there have been, because now you have protests, and there are protest laws, there are free speech zones, bubble zones, trespass zones, anti-bullying legislation, zero tolerance policies, hate crime laws, and a host of other legalistic rules and regulations that are just hypocritical window dressing. Because of that very reason, for these political members of the city council to be politically correct. They might have thought completely different. Because again, if you have any kind of sense, don't tear down statues, because it doesn't change the situation. The history and the facts still remain the same. And nobody, you know, these statues were done by people who at that time thought it was fine. And most of the people at that time supported these statues.
Back then, let me ask you,
Yeah.
since you are a German,
Yeah.
right? Was Hitler bad because of all himself,
Yes.
or he had supporters,
He had supporters.
right? So was Hitler stealing the position, or he was voted? He was elected.
He was elected and as a clever demagogue, and using the political situation, or let's say the social situation, socio-economic situation in Germany at that time. He was elected, he used power, he was, and he, for a time being, he created a economic miracle, because you know, in 4 or 5 years from total bankruptcy, he created an economic miracle. And then he went nuts, So the people, of course, when they saw that, they said, wow. And then he became the hero, and then they followed him.
He first created social Darwinism,
Yeah.
right? And his social Darwinism was so well accepted by the German
People.
voters,
Yeah.
German people. So he was voted, he was elected through votes, right? To be himself. Now, what I try to say is that looking at a bad guy created over a bad time, it is not only because the bad guys are bad. It is because the massive numbers of people who are supporting the
Because
political slogan,
They're looking for leadership.
and their leadership pop up,
Yes.
right? Are we talking about the same kind of danger here? When some leader pop up, people will go, wow, rush to him?
Yes, could be, but I don't see anyone around. And if there would be one, it could be. Because you see, when you go through history, you always see that things are getting worse and worse and worse. And I think it's too early yet to talk about this real negative aspect if the wrong leader comes up here, because it will take another 3 months when, and unfortunately I understand that now the people who really know about this are talking about further increase of the virus. So it will take another 3 months to create utter poverty. People will be evicted. There are thousands of people being evicted, losing their home. Not every landlord is realistic, and they try to get rid of the people. And you see, it always hits the poor. And you will have more people out of work, but on top of it, you will have people on the street. So there will be, and usually you need this kind of collapse. And this is another thing. This country has 2 guns per person of the population.
Per capita.
Per capita. And they will, I can see it, the shooting will stop.
How about we take a moment
Yeah.
out and come back to continue, because you already touched some area that is not being talked about for quite some time. All right. Okay, my dear friends, we take a moment out. We will be right back, please.
Everything. We have to continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host this news every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, my dear audiences. Welcome back to the show, brothers, sisters. I love you so much, so my team and I try every bit we can to bring information that we believe will be helpful, will be necessary to you. Right now, especially when we are at this moment of pandemic, not only pandemic, we have another pandemic that is even equally serious as the medically pandemic. We're talking about a political pandemic, with the a political right being politically right as a guideline. Lots of things are going on the dangerous way, towards the dangerous way. And with me today is my dear friend, Mr. Chris Nebe, Hollywood producer and political commentator. I adore very much about his wisdom, and in the meantime, he opened some areas that had seldom been or scarcely been talked about, such as the population divisions, such as the rich being richer, the poor being poorer, we go back to him. Please continue from where I cut you off last time, please.
You see, when we're talking about these protest laws, which were all hypocritical window dressing, dreamed up by corrupt politicians, that it conspired to corrode the core freedoms of we the people, brainwashing them by lulling them into believing that all is under control and they are safe. That's where we are going back to fear. Because that feeling of safe, you see, the average people are always looking for leadership. We human beings are no different than a herd of sheep which follows the leading sheep. Why they follow that leading sheep, unfortunately we can ask the other sheep, but it's amazing. The leading sheep goes here, the whole group goes there. It goes there, the whole group goes there. And this seems to be an animal instinct.
Yeah.
And we are also only animals. And that animal instinct, the majority of the people is looking for leaders. There are independent thinkers, and they're not so welcome, and if they are welcome, they are being hailed as wise, as this and this, but the majority of the people is totally consumed by their daily problems.
All right, thank you very much.
They don't have time for bigger ideas or something. They're happy with what they have. And rich people, if you're rich, that doesn't mean that you're a leader. Because you're rich because you were lucky and you had an idea and it worked and you were lucky. So leadership is something, because you talked about Hitler, which is something why are people leaders? They may not know it themselves, but they're driven by something. And he was driven by something and he did it right for a certain time. So no wonder the people were happy. He said, yeah, great.
Yeah.
And then he go crazy and he made totally wrong decisions. But because he was right before, the people thought, oh, maybe, and kept following him. And they didn't listen to those people who said, this is totally wrong. And the disaster was created. And then, like for example, remember, Germany was totally, completely destructed. Completely. And completely beaten. And I'm old enough to know this time. So, and I must tell you, in all my life, I've been very lucky, but when I was very young, I was really dropped into an abyss. And now, when I'm pretty old, I have that same feeling here in America, because the pandemic has brought out something which was there already, but there was the sparkle.
Yeah.
The sparkle is here, and I'm telling you, before when we talked about the guns, the worst is yet to come. This is still peaceful because people, the majority of people are not bad. The majority of people are not evil. But if they're forced to be, if they have no choice, what are they going to do?
Uprising.
Yeah, okay, yeah, and then it gets violent because this country has all the guns.
It gets violent, yes.
You see?
It gets violent.
And that's what I'm afraid of.
Thank you very much, my dear friend. I believe my friend Chris Nebe has made a very, very serious point. I hope you really paid attention to what's being talked about. Let me sum up a little bit if I understand you right, okay? We human beings are by nature are still animals.
Yeah.
Only we are civilized animals. However, by nature, we share something from the bottom of our mind or our mind, with or without we knowing it, that we follow leaders, like the sheep, right? Like the sheep. when all they follow is one in the lead. Yeah, all decisive is where the one is leading. If the one is leading to the slaughterhouse, all the other follow without asking any questions. So he pointed out, what if the leader leads us to a slaughterhouse? And provided we chose a wrong leader, right? So slaughterhouse is where we go.
But you know, there's always afterwards. Once you are in the slaughterhouse, while you're going there, you don't realize.
Yeah.
But then you realize when it happens.
When you do realize it's too late. It's too late anyway. So that is the most dangerous point that he mentioned, that at this moment, us people who are gregarious by the term, that we choose to live together. When people live together like the gregarious kind, they kind of depend on leaders, right? They follow leaders. The more they follow leaders, there goes the politics. The more the politics, the more they follow the leaders. Goes in a rotation on and on until to a point that you elect a wrong leader who might be the head sheep that leads you to slaughterhouse, though.
Yes.
That's the danger he raised out, my dear friend. It caused me goosebumps, my brothers, sisters. And go ahead, please.
Yeah, so you see, technically, on paper, the people here are free to speak, going back to the First Amendment, which we started. But in reality, we the people are only as free. Take the example of Charleston. As government officials or corporate entities like Facebook, like Google, like YouTube, like Twitter, and the corporate-owned media allows you.
Yeah.
Because, for example, you know, many times you tell me things which you found because of your connection with China. You have information which are not in the mainstream media here. And so there is always, this is without knowing it, there is a censorship going on here where certain things are not being talked about, or other things are being exaggerated, and there's always a new scandal.
That I want to insert a testimony.
Yeah.
One of my job is sorting news in the morning.
Yes.
When I sort of the AP, right, and I can tell you, I can assure you, my dear friend, that all the news are one-sided.
Yeah.
All are one-sided, right? Okay, my friend, let's take a moment out. We come back to continue. We'll find more. With the one-sided news leading, once again, we're talking about the word leading. Pay attention to that, okay? Leading could be one sheep, could be one propaganda, who knows, right? Okay, my friend, we'll be right back, please.
Continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host English news every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences. Welcome back to the show. The more we talk about, the more fear that I have caused myself. Of course, maybe I'm too little a guy to stand for such a big thing. But I believe that if you do pay attention to what's being talked about, though, it's kind of serious enough to cause you goosebumps too. To the point, the more poor are the people, the more politics are guiding them. The more politics, the more the poor. It goes on and on and on and on. When they are so poor to a point, they hope there comes a leader to save them. when there do come a leader, the leader might lead them to prosperity, might lead them to a slaughterhouse. So that's the problem. Back to my friend Chris Nebe, a Hollywood producer, director, and a screenwriter, and a political commentator. I like him a lot, and especially today, I like his analysis of the real problem of the current time, please.
You see, and because the people are very cleverly by the rulers to be ruled, they're divide and rule. And they're manipulated and brainwashed in focusing their anger on a broken system, and there
is anger, there is a broken system, there is a fear.
Yes, and they realize, you see, they have this fear, this mortal fear of, which is, and don't know what it is, because they are confronted with a system that does not serve and protect them, because they want to be served and protected.
So frustration gets even more accumulated.
Right.
More accumulated frustration produces more fear.
Right.
And the more fear calls for more leaders.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So we're coming to the same point.
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you know, the mortal fear is, the people realize, by now they realize, that we live in a time of excessive corporate greed and corrupt political ambition. Because I'm sure if you would individually interview these 13 people in Charleston, I'm sure that half of them, maybe more, would not feel good about the decision they did, but they did it because of political ambition, of political correctness, that makes them corrupt. I understand it. It's self-preservation. You know, you have the job, you don't want to lose the job, you don't want to lose the election, so you think you're doing the right thing, but you may be doing the wrong thing. And so they decided that to tear down these monuments, and this is what I'm talking about. The majority, for example, see, the rich get richer here, and the poor get poorer. For example, the majority of the government financial stimulus package, where do you think it went? Did not go to the people. It went, the majority went to the corporations, big corporations.
Yeah, we can testify that with the last tsunami of 2008.
Yeah.
Right. The federal money went to those big companies who are too big to collapse.
Right.
They are too big. They can't die.
Correct.
Right. So there goes the government money.
Right.
And then next thing you see, they still, and the CEOs still earning the same salary, same kind of salary, if not more, as before.
Right.
So the rich gets richer, I agree.
Yeah. And it's a system. You see, it's not somebody says, oh, I want to get richer. No, it's a system. The system is, the system has been developed over a long time.
I agree with you.
And because of that, the way it is being developed, it's self-serving. And the people are divided, manipulated, and brainwashed in focusing their anger on a broken system rather than working hand in hand to defeat an exploitive elitist establishment that created the broken system to divide and rule the people.
In other words, the system is not working towards the target of reducing poverty, however, to be rich and richer.
Yes, if you yes, because look at the medical situation here, which is a perfect example. Why is it? Of course, it's very difficult to change that. But the medical, wouldn't it be a fine thing to do what European nations are doing or trying to do, to have a free Medicare for everybody? No matter if rich or poor, if you're sick, you can go to the next hospital and get treated. Okay, you may be in a room with 6 people. Fine. If you want to have one room alone and you want the nurse to give you a kiss every morning, you buy
Extra,
insurance.
of course. Yeah.
But you have basic, because as a taxpayer, you have the basic right to go when you're sick and to be treated.
That's our principle.
Yes.
However, in practice,
It's
you
not done.
only worth how much your money worth.
Exactly.
All right. In other words, you mentioned the word deep state. So the system has already deep stated in a way what we are, what we see now, that nothing can be changed. No matter what you pull up to as either Obamacare, Donald Trump care, or whoever care, or Jack Chow care, whatsoever, you name it,
Yeah.
the deep stated already system that will not change.
No, it can be changed, but it takes a long time.
It takes a revolution.
Not only
No, they are so rich.
No,
they
it-
are so
it-
rich. You can't do a thing.
No.
I
but-
promise you,
yes,
brother.
But you know, a revolution alone, as you can see, is not. It takes it has to be a system. It's not easy to do this. Who is paying the doctors? The pharmaceutical companies are not interested because they are like, for example, I read there is one company who has a possible corona vaccination and it costs $2,500 for a certain treatment. I mean, again, there are people out there who just don't have this money, and this is a lot of people because as you heard, or as you may know, I have heard that most of Americans are unable to produce $400 in cash.
I can testify one
demand.
more piece that I have a health care which is so standard, so prevailing that people my age always do, which, however you consider it. But to the medication that my doctor surprised me, there's a one I either quit or pay. That's $365 per 30 pills.
Look.
You know what I chose? I chose to quit. Because I don't have the $365. That's going to cost me an arm's legs of that thing.
And one a day, to be taken one a day or 2 a day?
One a day,
One a day, that's
Yeah.
1 month.
1 month.
So every month, 300. And now you have,
365.
yeah. So you see, this is, if you are, I mean, in one way, we have to look at the government as a caretaker of people. For example, it is, if there would have been a courageous politician 20 years ago.
I want to correct you. It's a quote unquote caretakers.
Yes.
Okay? It's not an 8 caretaker.
No.
It's quote unquote caretaker.
You see, take the homeless problem.
Uh-huh.
If you would have addressed that problem when it started 20, 25 years ago, it would have been fine.
Of course.
Because you would have had a couple of thousand people and you could house them and you could create a system. But it was completely ignored. Today, it's like a pandemic.
Yeah.
I can show you, I mean, it's unbelievable. And unbelievable, and I can show you when you go downtown, not only everywhere. You see, the thing is that we only address issues when it's too late.
When there's no way of solution.
When there's no way solution. And now, I mean, okay.
Yeah, you want me to take a break and then come back?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, my dear friend, let's stop right here and come back to continue. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back, please.
Everything we have to continue to work on it now.
My name is Paul James. I host English News every morning.
And a golden angel award ceremony.
Hello, dear friends, my lovely audience. Welcome back to the show. Jack Chow with Chris Nebe, my dear friend, on the show talking about some real McCoy. When I say real McCoy, I seriously mean there are real McCoy, because right now we're talking about we have lots of problems going on. However, in order to find out what causes the problem, though, we unfortunately realize it's the system. It's the already deep-stated system that causes the problem. For example, when you're rich, you can be richer. When you are poor, you are only solution, or you are only heading to poor. The other day, I heard a advertising. I found myself so much liking it. It says, of course you understand, this is not a plan of getting richer, just a plan to prevent being poor. To prevent being poor has become a slogan so far. Now, I agree. I totally agree. So back to my friend Chris Nebe, Hollywood producer and the political commentator, on the fact about how and why the rich being richer and the poor being poorer. Has the government done anything in between?
You see, there is no solidarity, no vision that unites we the people in the common struggle against the powers that be. Unfortunately, the struggle has no real leadership.
Once again, we're talking about leadership.
Huh?
Once again, we came to
yes,
a
it's
conclusion
always about
of leadership.
You see, and now this has become glaringly clear because the tragic combination of the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting complete breakdown of the economy, which will drive millions of Americans into abject poverty, has focused a glaring light on the fact that America is morally and financially bankrupt.
I'm not sure if we are financially bankrupted,
Yes. Oh,
but morally, I have to agree with you.
financially, you are bankrupt because you see the dollar is not backed by anything. It's
Morally,
called-
yes. Morally, yes.
The dollar is called fiat money because it's being printed and has no value. But whether that, yes, you see, because we are asking now the government to do something which they can't. It's all because we cannot hold the government responsible for the virus pandemic. But together with the reality, it has opened a very bad wound and make the wound even bigger because people will.
The reality is that under the guidance of being politically right,
Yes.
people do not care, no longer care about the poor people.
I wouldn't say that they don't care because you see, soon they will be, everybody must realize that soon they will be forced to care because if you look at the core of any kind of revolution, it has always been when you drive the people against the wall that then they explode. Just look at the French Revolution. I mean, you know, that was a totally...
Oh, yeah, of course.
That was a perfect example of a totally entrenched system of royalty, of successful bourgeoisie, the people, the merchants, and again, it's always that revolutions are never made by rich people, never. Revolutions are never made by intellectuals who talk because they talk. Revolutions are made by people who are against the world,
by poor people, yes.
and say, I have had enough.
Yeah.
And then they don't care anymore because they have nothing to lose.
Yeah,
and if you have
yeah,
nothing to lose, you're moving forward because this is the only way.
When they are pushed to a point that
Yeah.
the only result is death, do it or not,
Yeah.
well, either way. Right?
Yeah. And you know, here, I mean, America is a great country because you see, you have all these various races, cultures, all living actually quite...
All together at the same time.
Yeah, all together and basically largely in peace and harmony. So no quick fix will help to solve the problem, this monumental problem of systematic change, because it is too established. It will take
But can we stop it?
No, it will take honest and courageous political leadership.
To stop it.
Trying to create a system of equality and justice for all. And I am sure eventually it will be done. But I'm also sure that until that happens, you will see a lot of blood running down the streets because this country is armed to the teeth. And
once again, it caused me goosebumps to hear that.
And, you know, and look at the French Revolution. It's a perfect example. Blood was all over. Blood was chopped
If
head
you
off.
say French Revolution, I will say the Chinese Cultural Revolution. It's the same thing. Blood everywhere. Thank God we have
I think that with all due respect, I believe the French Revolution is a perfect example because it's long time ago, but it was so profound. It changed, you know, it changed the Western world. It really changed the world. And the French Revolution stands for a revolution and France got better after this. And they're very proud of the revolution. And we in Europe all respect France for that because the French Revolution made all our lives in Germany, in Italy, in Spain better as a result because we learned from it. So it had a very profound impact. And I'm only worried about the aspect of blood running down the streets here because this is going to come here because everybody is armed. I mean, I know some people of color who got their check for the $1,200. You know what they did?
buy a gun.
Buy a gun. They didn't have one before. They're nice young boys of about 25 or something. I know them, I talk to them. They're working at the where our office is, and I talked to them, and they told me we bought guns, and they did not buy the gun to shoot. And I said, why did you do it? They said, you know, we live there and there and there.
Protection.
And there are robberies and so on, and I have to protect the family. That tells you something. And I was actually shocked because they were really nice boys and they have a job. They have not lost their job yet. Simple protection. What that made me think a lot. And each time I see them, I ask them, did you shoot somebody yet? Jokingly. So, you see, there is no quick solution. It will take a long time to change the rotten core system of American exceptionalism and hegemony. And it can only be changed if we, the people, must realize that we are in this together. And together we must work for a better future and establish a new normal for all, a new normal, because the old normal is gone. We are facing a total new situation.
Let alone the fact that we're talking about the changing of the new normal. With the pandemic, though, our normal life, rural style of life, cannot be continued anyway, right? Now that we are added with additional problems, with additional requests, my only hope lies in the fact that the United States runs a system that accept, even though has that many problems, that accept criticism.
Yes, because
We don't reject criticism. With each criticism, we get better. So that's why probably we stand out so strong, and we still hope to be stronger for. Right? Do you agree with that?
yes, and all we can hope that eventually the pandemic goes away, because then there is a new beginning, because by that time, and you know, I'm fascinated by the fact that people you can trust, scientists and so on, all of them say this is going to be more and we don't know when it ends. And this is a really the worst message you can have, because the pandemic will even break the system more.
All right.
But it's a great opportunity, of course, and maybe that's why the pandemic is.
In other words, the pandemic is helping
Yes.
and weakening us.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
Okay, my friend, my dear brother, well, there is always hope. I believe hope one is that thank God we have a system that does not reject criticism. Thank two that we Americans are so durable that we will stand up all kind of hardship, including the hardship of doing the self-correction. All right, okay, my dear friend, we're over time, but with my dear friend Chris Nebe, I really enjoy every single moment of it. And today is one of the very precious moments that we touch the very core issue of the issue. In other words, we really knocked the nail on the head. We thank you for watching, and to Chris, thank you very much for coming here, for sharing your thoughts with me.
Thank you. 谢谢你。